96.5 KLH, Dave, Doreen, Gino, and it is our great honor and pleasure to introduce to you yet another amazing family, a family that knows Children's Wisconsin way too well. They know every nook and cranny, if you will. Sarah and Alan are mom and dad, and we're here to talk about one of their two precious children, Sloane. First of all, thank you so much for joining us. How are you guys today?
We're well. We're happy to be here.
And how now you have two kids. Sloane she just turned 2, correct? And how old your son is? How old?
He is 5.5 going on 15.
Isn't that always the way
it gets better?
I can imagine. Yeah.
So, Sloane arrived a few weeks early. We'll start with you, Sarah. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. I had a normal pregnancy with Sloane. She joined us 3 weeks early. We had a little ICU stay, but then got home, settled in. But at 9 weeks old, she started having seizures. So that really kicked off our relationship with children. So that summer we got a full genetics workup. And when Sloane was 3 months old, she got diagnosis. She has a really rare genetic mutation. So it's a SMC1A is the gene that got mutated. It's not hereditary. There is no cure. It's super rare. She's like the 17th case worldwide.
No, in the U.S.
In the U.S.
In the U.S. Okay.
100 worldwide.
Well, that's like nothing.
Right. And the only case at Children's, right? So did they know right away how to treat her?
No, for her specific genetic diagnosis, there's no course of treatment. Because it's so rare, it only affects girls. As Sarah mentioned, there's really only 100 or maybe a little over 100 documented cases worldwide. And all of those, every girl that has this specific mutation has a different outcome. So they're all completely different. We're part of a couple different Facebook groups. And so the parents are really a wealth of information for like what's worked for them, what hasn't worked. And so, it's really all kind of just a guessing game in terms of her, you could call it treatment, but in terms of giving her the best life possible.
Okay. This is like hitting a lottery that you didn't know you wanted to hit or enter.
Something like that.
Yeah. Such a rare condition.
Yeah.
How do the folks at Children's, how do they conquer something like this? How do they attack the disease or at least try to plan a course of treatment?
Sure. So with her diagnosis, so she has these seizures that aren't treated well by medicine, but then also she has a global developmental delay, which impacts a lot of different parts of her care. So we actually see, we're part of the complex care team at Children's, which is patients like Sloane who have a lot of different areas that need special attention. So I think she sees 7 different specialties at Children's. So the complex care team is kind of that overarching view of looking at her holistic health. And so if we're ever unsure of which specialty, if there's something going on with her and we're not sure who to contact, we ping the complex care team to help us kind of look at things holistically.
Can you talk about what it's like that day when you're going to Children's each time? Is it something that Sloane looks forward to? Does she have relationships with people there?
Yeah, definitely. We've had the EMTs at our house probably over a dozen times easily. A couple of those ended up in transport to Children's. So like the ER staff recognizes us, they recognize Sloane. The neurology unit at Children's Hospital is phenomenal, and they recognize Sloane. The ICU recognizes Sloane. So her name has come up on their board more than we would care to have it. But the benefit is having built relationships with all of those teams and the relationships they have with one another. Like, they really listen to us. They have told us they're ultra compassionate, super willing to listen and learn. And they know that we're with our daughter 24/7. So anybody who has not encountered Sloane before, it's kind of remarkable how when you're in the ER and they see something like one of Sloane's seizures where her oxygen saturation will drop into the low teens. It's gone down to single digits. And that, for somebody who's not familiar with Sloane, will freak you out.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how we will be like, let's stop, let's reset. We will explain to you everything that we know. And that they have always listened to us as the parents to kind of work together to give our daughter the best treatment.
And one of the things I was reading is that you do the keto enriched diet that she's on, or that she's, and that was something I had read about, researched. They did all this research for patients with seizures that it seems to help.
Mhm.
And that's a little bit about one of those things that when we do this marathon, that's where the money comes from to do that kind of research.
Yeah, the research that comes up with something like the keto diet. How's that working for her, by the way?
So the keto diet seems to be working. Keto before was a trendy way to shed some pounds. Keto was developed specifically for children with intractable epilepsy, which is, seizures that are not controlled easily by medicine. So I think that's to circle back to the question that you asked before about how the teams work together. We see neurology, we see dietary, we see GI, we see her regular pediatrician, we see pulmonology, cardiology, although cardiology's dropped off because that issue resolved itself. So I think that the keto was brought up during our 23-day hospital stay, and we originally hadn't gone on it, but it kind of seemed like, why not give it a try? And that's what seemed to work. And so, dietary works super close with neurology. They all talk to each other. They all communicate. They've got impeccable notes in their system so that, if there's a question, usually they can figure it out from her chart. And I think it's really important that Children's has specialists on staff that are looking into that kind of thing, that are non-traditional routes of treatment. That is super important to us, and that seems to be the thing that got us out of the hospital during that 23-day stay. Mm-hmm. And then we just have to really stay on top of her dietary supplements, because there are some irregularities dietarily that come along with that. But that's one of those things that we never would have considered, and that the teams in talking to each other were like, this works for some kids, let's try it for your daughter. And it seems to be helping.
Mm-hmm. Being a parent is difficult enough, and you've got another child to have to deal with. How do you, Sarah, as parents, how do you cope with something? How do you get through something like this?
Yeah, and our son's just in the other room doing his virtual K4 class. So, it's a constantly changing thing. But I think for other parents with, a child with complex needs, or that has an unexpected stay at Children's, it's your reality, and we've embraced it. And I think, there's a certain level of grief and just working through, the life that you didn't really anticipate. But I think that's also where, it's really hard to put into words, like, what Children's has meant to us as parents, as a family. Like, we've had stays there pre-COVID, during COVID, and like even their attention to their child life program, which, addresses siblings. And so if you have a sibling that has an extended stay, different activities and things that they can, they bring in proactively to help your other child understand what's going on too. Like, and that's been a blessing with getting kind of under the covers of everything going on at Children's. We see so much when you're taking a break and wandering the halls, from the getting admitted in the ER in the middle of the night to, seeing the housekeeping and cafeteria staff and the work that they do. Children's is walking into the ER in the middle of the night, like, it is completely staffed, ready for anything that's coming up. And for those that, aren't there on a regular basis, it's a really comforting thing to know that those services are there for your child too. And I think coupled with, Alan referenced that long stay we had, and, Sloane was 5 months old. She was on a ventilator. We were talking with palliative care about end of life decisions. That's no parent is prepared for that. Mm-mm. But, and so they've been with us through our hardest days as a family, the hardest decisions we've had to make. And they're critical to us knowing how to care for her at home, and to create this life in this world that is happy and safe and fun, that we, set out as parents to do.
They sort of wrap their arms around you. You said your family. They wrap their arms around you and make sure that you stay together as a unit and as a family, and that you as you had alluded to earlier, they listen to everything you say. They value your input, and they don't dismiss you just because you're not necessarily medical experts. You really do feel part of the care plan, and that's a very key and integral part of being a parent, I think. Would you agree with that?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. And I think it's how you approach it. I mean, you show them the respect from the medical perspective. They show you the respect from the parental perspective. And I think like the other biggest thing we got out of all those days was, I mean, at the beginning we were terrified, and now we're super confident. And that's in large part due to, I mean, everybody at Children's being able to reach out and lend a helping hand, even if it's not their specialty. If it's an off-the-wall question about like a product we might need that could help her out, like they were always willing to pitch in and just give us whatever information we need. And if they didn't have it, just go to the other specialists rather than making us run around figuring out who to talk to. You reach out to one doctor and they're like, it's not really my thing. Here's what I think, but I will go to the other specialties, or I'll go to the complex care team, or I'll go to the pharmacy. We'll talk it over and I'll get back to you with what you need.
That's priceless.
It is. It is priceless. And what they do at Children's, it truly is a miracle. We call this the Miracle Marathon. But the fact that at some point you were talking with palliative care about Sloane, and now we're talking in other terms, that is a miracle unto itself, let alone where she could end up and what kind of things she could achieve in this world. So it's because of Children's and because of dedicated parents like you that we do the Miracle Marathon. Sarah, if you could take a moment and talk to moms out there about supporting Children's Wisconsin, especially moms who maybe have never had to take their young children there.
Yes. And, you know, it's such an important thing to donate, and thank you and your team for, you know, your support during this as well, because, you know, from a parent, you always want the best care and love and support for your child. You never know what's coming down in the future too. And to know that Children's is there in the community, like there may not be a cure for Sloane's specific diagnosis in her lifetime. That's very possible, but it's our goal and our mission as a family to make sure that that care, those tools, that technology is all there, not only to help Sloane, but the other kids in our community as well. So, you know, I would, you know, encourage folks to understand there are a plethora of tools from their MyChart application, you know, to help really create that dialogue and trust between their care team, to the Skywalk Pharmacy. I mean, they'll deliver their medications to your doorstep, which is so important during our busy mom life, you know, and with COVID too. So it really can trust that there are people out there that are on your side and will go rally for you and your child.
Can I say, looking at the two of you, though, you see the strength in this unified couple, which a strength you probably didn't even know you had.
No, it wasn't easy to find, but we found it. And we're doing well.
Right.
One's doing well, and Henry's doing well. So.
Yeah. And, you know, and I think the reason you get to where you are right now, and you alluded to it earlier, Alan, about being confident, the reason you feel confident is innately you know that Sloane and any other child that's at Children's is with the best care team in the world. And as a parent, you alluded to it, Sarah, you'll do anything for your child. You know that you've made the right call and that your child's at the right place. And that gives you and inspires that confidence that you were talking about.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they'll say it to any parent. If you have concerns, if you have questions, they are there for you, regardless. Like, do not hesitate to make the call. Do not hesitate to go. They are happy to walk you through anything from major to minor. It does not matter. They just want the kids in our state to be safe, happy, healthy, along with their families.
Thank you so much, you guys, for your time. And thanks for introducing us to Sloane through this interview. And we're certainly hopeful that some people will donate some more money because of the interview with you guys. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi.
Sarah and Alan, the Fever family. And this is the Miracle Marathon on KLH.